Hello and welcome to my channel. What I'm going to share today is a quick and easy tutorial on how I adhere silk or luxury fabrics onto Krafttex covers for journal making. The Krafttex, of course, if you know me already, is my favorite. I've made hundreds of journals with them. And it's just so amazing to work with. It's flexible. You can heat it, you can paint it, you can wet it, you can sew it. It's just marvelous, and it's nice and lightweight to hold in your hands. It's also lightweight, so it's great to work with. You can add any type of medium or fabric, paper, whatever to it, and it holds up very well. Stitches, of course, sews very well. So I have measured the cover that I would like for my journal that I'm going to be demoing today, the cover. And it is 12.5 across by 8.5 tall. I have already scored a 1.5 inch spine, and I have cut a piece of steam to use as my adhesive. It's like heat and bond, it's just more lightweight. And once you iron it, it will become permanent. So you want to do all your measuring and placement, prior to actually ironing your pieces together. And what I would suggest is never ironing directly on your silk unless you absolutely have to. It just leaves a mark. The iron will leave a mark, and we don't want to do that. So if you've determined already the right side of your fabric, then I would suggest you lay your Krafttex piece on top of that so you know what order you want to layer them up in. And it doesn't matter, I've got this panel a little bit larger than I need to, which is fine. And then I take my steam, which is actually going to go in between the two. But what I want to share with you is you probably can't see the yellow measurement markings. They're 1 inch by 1 inch. And it is, oh, there we go, that's better. It is sticky on both sides, so all you want to do for the first go round is remove one layer, and then you're just going to position it in between or on top of your Krafttex. That's probably the easiest way to describe it. And just pull that apart. So this side is adhesive, it's sticky now, and then that one is going to be stuck down later. So then I take it like this, put your steam in place, and then remember it's repositional, which is the beauty of this one. It's just so great to work with. And I've got to probably cut just a little bit wonky, which is fine. And then just lift it and move it over to fit your particular cover. And like I said, it's repositional, which is fine. So you're just going to play with it until you're happy with where it sits. That's better. You can see it's all covered now. If you choose to use a piece of steam that is smaller than your fabric or your paper size, you're going to have that slight, ridge, which it's fine for the inside of your journal, totally fine, but I wouldn't recommend doing it for the outside. Also, you don't want to have anything sticking over because that's going to bond. Once you iron it, it will bond to whatever surface you've got it's sticking to. Okay, so now this is good. I am rethinking this. I think this is supposed to go here. That's what happens. My mom always told me if you can't tell the right side from the wrong side by looking at the selvage end, which is this end here, then it's not going to really matter all that much. That's it. This is the right one. Okay, now I'm happy. So it's going to go here. And I have not exactly cut my fabric. I haven't trimmed it down to size, which I will do in a second. So now I'm happy with this. Now I'm going to peel the other layer. And this one's a little trickier. In fact, I might have to turn the camera off because the lighting isn't the best here, but I will see if I can do it. Kind of just roll it. I mean, you can use tape. There we go. All right. And then I'm just going to pull it up. And I want that sticky side to stay in place. There we go. Okay, can you see it? And again, you want to do it carefully. There you go. You can see the little waffle pattern in it. And then just carefully pull that off. No ironing yet. So now it's sticky and ready to receive your fabric layer. And that looks good. And then I just flip it over. And then I'm careful where I put it, because even though it's still repositioned, I want to make sure if you've got a print on your fabric, you want to just make sure you get it where you want it to go. And I just gently press it into place. Boom. So that is step one. Turn it around and it looks great. No lumps or bumps. And then what I would do at this point is just trim it to within about an inch. A half an inch is not quite enough. It's going to be a little bit more difficult to work with, and you'll have some pulling you'll have to do. So if you want to watch me, go ahead. If not, fast forward. And I just do this random. I know you can buy those things where you can, it's like a ruler, a gauge. And I leave about 1/4 of an inch between the corner and where I'm mitering the fabric to fit. It doesn't have to be cut perfectly because it's going to go to the inside and be attached. And if you want to save on your Steam-A-Seam, you can always use your glue, your Fabri-Tac or whatever for the inside cover, but it could see through. And that's the thing with these luxury fabrics, is it's very hard to do a perfect job and have no seeping through of the Fabri-Tac glue. But I like using it. I like them both. This just leaves a smoother finish, the Steam-A-Seam. And there you go. So now it doesn't really matter which is top or bottom, except the pattern of the flowers is that way. So this is going to be the top of my journal cover right here. So now I'm going to go iron it, and I'm going to press from this side, and that's going to bond the layers together beautifully. And then when I come back from ironing, I'll start the camera again, and I will apply another layer of the Steam-A-Seam to the inside with my inside fabric choice color. So I will be back shortly. And I'm back. So this is now ironed on beautifully, smoothly, and it's stuck in place, which is fabulous. So I've decided for this demo to show you how I would just gently tack on these side edges. If you're doing a finished edge for your journal cover, if you're leaving it raw or organic, you can always just stitch it and then trim this a little bit closer and have a more flanged edge. So what I'm going to do now is just lightly put on some Fabri-Tac. Start with the long sides of your journal cover. I always use a little silicone spatula for application. And just really light touch, because you are going to end up using your Steam-A-Seam over top of this when you add your inside cover, whether it be fabric or paper. And then I just spread it out generously using this so that you're not going to get the seeping through again. So, and then just pull it gently. And that's one side done. And then flip it over, flip it around. Do the other long side of your cover. A thread hanging here. Generally, I don't put the glue over the edge, otherwise it could seep and go through to the front, which you don't want to do that because you've got it the way you want it already. And there we go. Start in the middle. Gently pull up these edges so they are flat and smooth. So far, so good. And then comes the tricky part of doing the short sides and the corners. So what I usually do is I have my tweezers here and I just go in like that and then fold them over and then tuck that little bit in. It's okay if you have some of the frayed edges showing on the inside. Once you put your inside cover on, it's not going to show. So that's just a quick little tip before I actually apply the glue. And again, just spread it a little bit. And yes, if you're using the Fabri-Tac glue, it is going to seep through a little bit, but again, this will be covered up. To me, it's more important to get my corners really smooth from the outside. And then if you're happy with that, that looks better. So that's from the inside, what it looks like on the corners. And then the outside. And then we do the other side. Again, that's why I like to leave the 1/4 inch on the corner when I miter the fabric. Miter means just cutting it at an angle, because then it doesn't slip out of the position that you want to use to tuck in your angles here. This is the trickiest part, is getting these corners right. I think that's why some people don't like to do the wraparound cover method, because, you know, it can go sideways and not be perfect, but that's okay too. You can always cover it up. So there we go. There's our corners from the outside as well as the inside. And now we can begin to prepare the inside covers. So I'm going to put my glue away. I do have wipies nearby all the time. If I somehow get glue gunked where it shouldn't go, then I can fix that up real quick. This is the fabric I've chosen for the inside cover. Just incidentally, it's one of the shopping bags from April Cornell, and it has kind of a rust spot on it, which as artists and crafters, we know that we can work around stains and spots, right? So the pattern goes this direction. I want to keep that for my inside cover. So this one, I am going to get positioned a little bit better. I've got my piece of steam already prepared. So I think what I'm going to do is maybe I'll put the steam in place, the first layer, and then I'm going to cut the inside fabric piece to coordinate with where I want it to go. So again, I'm going to remove the steam like so. Okay, so here is one layer, and then just gently remove it. And because it's repositional, you know what? You can move it around. Okay. And I do have some sticking out over here. I'm going to trim that down a bit because I don't want it to gunk up my iron. And just press it into place. And I'm going to trim it while I've got the extra layer on it, because I don't want it to stick to any other surface, but I'm picky, so yeah. You can do as you wish. And you don't want to catch any of your beautiful cover fabric in there either. So there we go. I just trimmed it a little. And this one needs some too. You can always fast forward through this part if you don't care to watch this. You can all figure out how to do it on your own. There we go. Okay, great. I'm happy with that. And then putting this back on, I'm just going to guess if I had some clips on my work table right now, I would just clip it here and then trim it. But I'm working downstairs, and let's switch to my fabric scissors. And just lightly pencil in on my fabric. And it shows up well enough, so I'm pleased with that. And then just trim it. All right, go. This is the right side. And the right side again. If it sticks out a little, you can trim it later. I think I'm going to actually trim it just a little bit more. So I'm going to do it from this side. I just don't want it sticking out. Just doing about 1/8 of an inch. When you bend your journal to open it and close it, you're going to have some stretch and flex anyhow. So that would be the thinking there, is that you just have to allow for that. And just trim a wee tiny bit off. Again, about 1/8 of an inch. Alrighty. Now let's see again. Yes, I like that better, much better. Okay, so now what I do is just pull that to the side, and then I'm going to remove that additional layer of the steam-a-seam, the paper layer. I can see it. It's just a matter of come on. There we go. You see it again? That's what you want to see, is just a whisper of the steam-a-seam. And then gently pull it off that paper. Careful to leave it in place. Beautiful. Voila. And bring in our inside cover fabric this time, and just place it at this point. Of course, it is still repositional, which is fabulous. This is going to be for another ocean themed journal that I'm making. I was gifted a signature at our swap at our Seaside Soirée, and I am going to use this as my cover. Or I'm going to use sapphire blue. Haven't 100% decided yet. Just want to pull this off a bit. Oopsies. Careful not to remove the whole steam-a-seam piece. Oh, what the heck happened there? Okay. Oh, I see, it's on my hand. Samples of what can happen. There we go. It does take a little bit of fiddling around, as you can see. I'm going to turn it this way now. I don't like that bubble in there. There you go. Just smooth it out. All right. And because of the overlap of the outside cover fabric coming to the inside, you will have a little bit of a gap there. But if it bothers you, you can always put another layer of paper in there underneath to make it more level. I never worry about that. I think I did it once or twice in my journal making history, and after that I don't worry about it, because we generally always put some trim or pockets or tuck spots on the inside of our covers, and then you just don't even notice it anymore. I do try to ease in the creases a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is trim this excess off on the side. And then I'm going to go iron it. And then I'm going to stitch around, and I will come back and show you. Stay tuned. And I'm back to show you the finished cover on the inside. Nicely adhered, all the corners attached. And that's the outside of the cover. And then from there, you just, you know, start to manipulate the covers so that it folds open and closed neatly. And then you can put your completed signature inside. And my word of advice is always do your signature first. That's going to determine the size of your cover and the width of your spine. For these particular journals, we suggested using 15 pages front and back, times 4, that gives you 60 page sides, and 8.5 inches tall. So it fits, as you can see, just very neatly into the cover. I'm thinking what I'm going to do, instead of embellishing the sides of this particular signature, is do the bottoms, because my friend has printed on both sides of the pages, which is amazing. And there you have it, your completed journal cover. You can, of course, do whatever kind of topper you would like, and that I probably might do in a separate video. I think I do have a couple on toppers that I have made, but this completes the what we learned in the journal cover class that we had in San Diego. I hope it's been helpful. If you ever have any questions, feel free to email me or message me. I would love to be able to try and answer if I can, and just be inspired and try it for yourself. Thanks so much for watching.